Hey, what's up guys, DarkLogic here, and today we are talking about Squid Game. So this is the first in a series of quick review videos I will be doing alongside my regular reviews, and with Squid Game currently a global phenomenon, I figure it just makes sense to jump on the bandwagon in order to kick things off. But be warned, this is not going to be a spoiler-free review. So if you haven't seen it, I highly recommend you climb out from under that rock you've been living under, open up Netflix, and join the rest of the world in our shared trauma. If you proceed further, I'm going to assume you've already seen it, so I'm not going to waste time explaining the setup or characters or anything like that. Just give my thoughts on them. And this is supposed to be a quick review, but as usual, I have a lot to say, so go figure. So it goes without saying, Squid Game is an incredible show. Like just about everyone else, I was blown away by it. I haven't screamed at a show or a movie like that in years. It was intense, suspenseful, deeply disturbing and depressing, and had some very interesting social commentary. And despite knowing almost nothing about the show going in, as I'd never even seen a trailer, as soon as I realized they were going to be playing games for all that prize money, and taking note of all the hype surrounding the show, I had a funny feeling that people were going to die. And of course, I was very excited to find out I was right. God, the show is fucked up. I love it. One of the things that I appreciated about this show as well is the fact that most of the characters were relatable in some way, even if they've done some pretty bad things. Like Attack on Titan, this show really likes to explore the dark corners of human nature, while also trying to get you to relate to the characters who are being complete assholes, except for a couple of the characters, because they just plain suck, but that's pretty, that can be true about some people as well. And actually, as annoying as she was, the way that chick took out this thug guy, sacrificing herself purely to get revenge, but that was pretty badass. I appreciated that. When it comes to picking a favorite character though, it's honestly kind of hard for me to choose. All of the main characters are compelling and interesting. The main character, Gi-hun, let me see if I'm pronouncing that right.
Gi-hun. Gi-hun.
The main character, Gi-hun, despite being a selfish gambler and a terrible father and son, is actually not a bad guy. He's just kind of an idiot. But he's an idiot with a heart of gold. I really didn't like him at all at first because of how he was introduced and all the dumb things he did during that first episode. For a moment I was almost like, why do we need, like, I just kind of want to get into, like, the games. Like, there's games, right? This isn't a show about this guy's gambling problem and the fact that he sucks at being a dad, right? But all of that was pretty important, I think, looking back, to establish the kind of person Gi-hun was and why he was doing the games and kind of give an example of a personal reason why somebody would put themselves through this sort of thing. And despite not liking him at first, as the show went on, he definitely grew on me as he showed kindness and concern to the other players, especially the old man Il-nam, who we will get back to later. But anyway, I actually think Gi-hun is probably my favorite character. He's also got this kind of goofiness about him as well, which I like. And how can you not love that smile? Sang-woo. I am really not sure how to pronounce most of these names, but I'm going to try my best, so I'm sorry if I butcher them. Sang-woo, Gi-hun's childhood friend who wound up in there with him. Despite studying business at SNU, as we are repeatedly reminded throughout the show, why do we hear that a million times? I don't... Was also pretty interesting. He's a character that I kinda don't know how to feel about. Surprisingly, this show managed to do that with a lot of its characters, at least for me. Sang-woo is clearly a very selfish person as well, probably a lot more so than Gi-hun, as he doesn't hesitate to misdirect Gi-hun and the rest of his team during the second game, already attempting to eliminate them so that he can get the money for himself. Which is an incredibly stupid thing to do in my opinion, even if you are a cold-hearted bastard who has no remorse and will probably kill your teammates off in the end anyway, as he does to poor sae-byeok. But anyway, I still think you would be better off working with a team through most of the games because, I mean, it's good to have allies, right? Like, why kill off your allies first? Just doesn't make any sense to me. Anyway, the weird thing though, and what gives me the mixed feelings about this character, and I'm sure most people as well, is the fact that he clearly isn't cold-hearted. He does struggle with his decision not to tell gi-hun what the game is or what shape he should choose, despite knowing what they're in for. And then again, despite straight up murdering sae-byeok in cold blood, and trying to murder gi-hun later, he ends up killing himself, sacrificing himself so gi-hun can go home with the money instead of saving his own life. Speaking of sae-byeok, the only reason she wants the money is to get her mother across the border and her brother out of an orphanage, which are very unselfish reasons. Ali as well just wants to take care of his family. But again, I also kind of feel bad for Sang-woo because you can just see that it's tearing him up inside. Another thing I really loved about the story was its social commentary, which are not subtle at all, which while I'm at it, let's talk a little bit about these assholes. The golden mask wearing, smarmy, anime villain dubbed rich guys that the games are put on for. I've heard a lot of people describe them as American, and while it seems like most of them are, we know that obviously Il-nam is Korean, he's one of them, and there appears to be at least one Chinese guy, I think, because he has a different accent and he speaks Mandarin at one point. But anyway, the one thing that we can discern for certain through this is that they are all obviously men, so yeah, there's that. I've also heard complaints about how they are written and acted, and yeah, it is fucking terrible. They literally sound like an anime dub, and not exactly a good one. And to make things worse, the only dialogue that they have are them acting smarmy, complaining, or just stating the obvious. And then there's that perverted guy. We don't need to go there. But the more that I started to think about it, and the further I got into the show, the more I started to feel that maybe this was intentional, that their over-the-top voices and cartoonish dialogue was actually meant to be that way, and is also kind of weirdly fitting. The reason being because these characters aren't even really characters. They're not really meant to be seen as people, at least. This is the impression that I get. More so they are caricatures, stereotypes, meant to be representative of the gaudy indulgence of the super rich and the evils of capitalism, and to show more plainly the absolute emptiness that comes from being filthy rich. That Il-nam describes later. Because of everything that these guys have. Literally, they have people for furniture. They can have anything they want. And this is what it has left them. They are almost not human. They've lost everything that makes them human beings, in a sense. The creators of the show really took the absurdity of how rich these guys are as far as they could imagine. So at the end of the story, as we know, gi-hun wins the game, but despite coming out on top and leaving with all that prize money, there is nothing that feels triumphant about those following scenes. As gi-hun is stumbling through the streets, trying to make his way home, there is instead a deep sense of heaviness and emptiness, and just a question of, was it all even worth it? And making it worse, on his way home, he encountered Sang-woo's mother, who asked him if he'd heard from him lately. But gi-hun can't even respond. He just watched him kill himself. What could he even say to her? Which is really fucking sad. She just kind of assumes that he's out of it, like he's been drinking or something, gives him a fish and sends him on his way. I've heard some people complain that gi-hun kind of just sits on his money for an entire year, not doing anything with it, not seeing his daughter, not helping other people, just kind of living like a bum. But I really don't feel like that's at all unrealistic. After everything he's gone through, gi-hun is nothing short of a broken man. He's traumatized and ridden with guilt, so much to the point that he doesn't even care about the money anymore. He probably just wants to go back to a time before all this even happened. And really, that just serves to drive home the message of the show. If he just bounced back and was like, oh fun, I'm rich now, what kind of message would that be? Not the one that the creators were going for, I'm sure. I mean, it's easy to look at a show and be like, oh, if it was me, I would do this or that, but you really never know what you would do or how you would feel in that situation. In my opinion, this does an incredibly good job of demonstrating that no matter how much money you have, there are some things that just can't replace. nor can it undo what's been done. That despite all the importance that we put on money itself, it really isn't that important at all. It's not the answer to everything. The weird thing about it too, as well, is that I really get the feeling that the people who watched and organized these games probably get it in their head that all that money somehow makes up for everything they put these people through. Like the way Il-nam talks later on, he almost feels like he has the right to do this, like he is somehow justified because he's giving people an opportunity to improve their lives. Of course, he's taking many more lives away in the process, which I don't understand why that's necessary. I guess if people weren't dying, it wouldn't be as much fun to watch, which is really screwed up. Anyway, the ironic thing about that is, though, that the fact that the money makes him feel justified is because he himself says that all that money he has in his life has just made it boring. I'm sorry, I've got mixed feelings about Il-nam too, but at the end of the day, anyone arguing that he is a benevolent figure in this story, I'm sure he believes he's a benevolent figure, but it's not true. He arranged a game where thousands upon thousands of people have been killed, many without knowing even that they had a chance to get killed, because in the first game nobody knew that was a risk that they were taking. So for him to think that money is just going to cover up all the stuff he puts these people through, all the things that he's done, it doesn't. It just doesn't. And I don't think this is something unintentional from the writers. I think they want to show this kind of warped way of thinking. One major flaw about this twist is the fact that it takes away the heartbreak and tragedy that came with the old man's death after the marble game. That episode put us through so much hell. That episode hurt so fucking much, and the old man dying was the peak of that. This twist just takes all of that away. Instead of being sad about his death and remembering him for the kind, wise old man that we thought he was, now we have to remember him as this evil mastermind who fooled us, who tricked us into caring about him, despite the fact that he was the one behind all of this. Now again, I know everybody who came back did it knowing what they were in for, but still, creating games like this in the first place is inherently fucked up. So yeah, I don't think anyone can really disagree with that. What I think people really hated about this twist is that it made us feel lied to in a very emotional and personal way. Because the show made us feel so much empathy for the old man and so sad about his death. Also, despite how twisted his reasons were, like Song-woo, I for some reason still can't hate this guy. I still just feel bad for him, just in a different way than I did before. And as for the bet they had in the end, I still don't understand why gi-hun didn't go help the guy himself. I thought that's what was gonna happen. I don't feel like, after everything he's been through, and as the kind of person the story already established he is, gi-hun would just sit there and watch this guy die. But they could have actually done both. What if in the last few minutes gi-hun got frustrated and said, screw it, I'll help the guy myself. So he goes down to do so, and then right before he gets there, say 10 feet away, the police car comes up with the person inside who saw the man earlier, and gi-hun watches the man get the help he needs up close. Afterward, returning to the tower to confront Il-nam, only to see that he's already passed away. Not only do I feel like this would be more true to gi-hun's character, but because it would show that not only are people willing to help each other, but that gi-hun wants to be a part of that as well, becoming an example for the audience, the kind of people we should aspire to be. It's a small change, but do you guys agree with me that they would have just made it so much better? Let me know in the comments. All in all, I still think it's an amazing show. The end certainly does leave it open for a part 2, suggesting that gi-hun is going to try to take the organization down, although I can't even begin to imagine how he'll be able to do that. And I do agree he should have gone to see his daughter first. I mean, come on, get your priorities straight, man. And that hair, I don't care what you guys say, it's fucking genius. It's symbolic, okay? It means something, guys. Okay, if there's any poor choices anyone who made this show made, it was definitely that hair. It's just way too distracting. Like, it kind of takes away from the ending, in my opinion. Yeah, it's bad. Anyway, that's all I have to say about Squid Game for now. Obviously, I loved it. I can't wait for a second season. Thank you for watching. If you enjoyed this video, give it a like. Subscribe if you want to. and I'll see you next time. This is the front man speaking. Until the next game, peace.